Are you in a good place now in your life?
Depends on when you ask me whether or not it's a good place.
Are you happy?
It depends. It also depends.
And he's using music and entertainment to
How
who
was
was
he
mentored by Clive Davis.
I opened up myself to the possibility of a person rather than a gender.
Did he struggle with the idea of coming out publicly? Was that something that you talked about at all?
But he wasn't going to come out and say this to the world. And he had a lot of lady fans, and he told me that he just didn't want to upset the world.
Did Clive Davis really manipulate Luther Vandross behind the scenes? Could one of music's greatest voices have been controlled, even forced to hide who he truly was?
And he's using music and entertainment to
How
who
was
was
he
mentored by Clive Davis.
Now, rumor has it, allegedly, Diddy got on his knees for Clive Davis in 1994.
And why didn't the music industry do more to protect Luther Vandross from its dark side?
Happy.
It depends. It also depends on when you ask. Asking right now, no, not particularly.
Was the pressure of stardom and maintaining a marketable image the reason behind Luther's lifelong struggle with loneliness?
It's too much work that yields too little result, for my assessment of it all.
Patti Labelle seems to have revealed shocking details about her friend, and it's time we uncover the truth behind Luther Vandross's lonely and tragic life. So, what exactly did Patti say? Luther Vandross, the velvet voice behind timeless classics like Never Too Much and Here and Now, was a superstar whose personal life remained a mystery to many. Known for his powerful ballads, Luther's silky voice touched millions, yet his own life was filled with loneliness, heartache, and industry pressures. In 2017, legendary singer Patti Labelle shed light on some painful truths about Luther during an interview on Watch What Happens Live. She hinted at a side of Luther's life that was hidden from the public, a side where his and the industry's toxic demands may have left him vulnerable to exploitation, even from powerful figures like Clive Davis. According to Patti, they were tight, going way back to when they were just starting out. Labelle even let us in on a little secret. Luther was the first president of her fan club.
So he hooked us up with these gowns. I don't know where he got them. And then he became my first fan club president.
Wow.
And he became like my best friend.
During the interview, the host, Andy Cohen, didn't beat around the bush. He straight up asked Patti about Luther's S orientation. Patti didn't dodge the question. She spilled the tea, sharing that Luther wasn't keen on coming out publicly. He was worried about his mom and didn't want to rock the boat with his lady fans.
He did not want his mother to be, although she might have known, but he wasn't going to come out and say this to the world. And he had a lot of lady fans, and he told me that he just didn't want to upset the world.
However, Luther's wasn't exactly a hidden gem in the music biz. Folks like writer Bruce Vilanch and journalist Michael Musto had their suspicions. Vilanch even said Luther was deep in the closet and didn't want anyone to know he was in the life. Then there's Lenny Kravitz. He opened up about Luther's struggles, saying Luther felt pretty lonely behind the scenes. Kravitz lived with songwriter David Lasley, who was tight with Luther. Kravitz overheard Luther spilling his heart out about feeling isolated and wishing he could be himself. In his book, Kravitz mentioned overhearing Luther's late-night conversations with Lasley. They were often on speaker, so Kravitz could hear their conversations clearly. Vandross and Lasley would have regular phone calls late at night. Kravitz says he would hear Vandross tell Lasley how lonely he was. According to Kravitz, Vandross also told Lasley that even though he received admiration from female fans, he was more interested in his fans' brothers. When the women were screaming for Vandross, all he could think about was the fact that he would rather be with a man, according to Kravitz. In his book, he says he felt sad for Vandross because he couldn't be himself. To understand the weight Luther carried, we need to take a closer look at the music industry he was navigating. The 80s and 90s music scene was rife with exploitation, especially for black artists. Record labels, obsessed with image and profit, often exerted control over their artists' personal lives, making them conform to what was deemed marketable. For Luther Vandross, this meant keeping his hidden. Many artists at the time faced similar challenges, but for Luther, who was naturally introverted and private, the pressure was even more suffocating. The toxic environment created by these labels, combined with Luther's personal fears, made him an easy target for manipulation. Industry rumors have swirled for years that executives like Clive Davis, known for shaping the careers of many music legends, could have had a more controlling hand in Luther's personal and professional life. Davis himself is no stranger to controversy. controversy, with several artists accusing him of using his influence to maintain power over their careers. There are whispers that Clive Davis may have used his position to demand more than just talent from his artists.
And he's using music and entertainment who was mentored by Clive Davis.
Now, rumor has it, allegedly, Diddy got on his knees for Clive Davis in 1994.
In the early 1980s, Luther signed with Clive Davis's new record label, J Records. Clive Davis was a legendary figure in the music industry, known for discovering and nurturing talent. But for Luther, signing with Davis came at a high cost.
3 weeks before the show was due to be taped, I called up Dion. I said, you know what? I can't do Soul Train, the second one. I can't do this. I can't do it.
After joining J Records, Luther's career initially soared. He released several successful albums and enjoyed commercial success. However, the pressures of the industry began to take a toll on him. Luther struggled with his weight, his health deteriorated, and he became increasingly isolated. Exclusive interviews reveal that Luther was not happy. He felt trapped by the demands of the industry and the constant pressure to produce hits. Friends and colleagues noticed a change in him, both physically and mentally. One prominent name that stands out in all this is Clive Davis, a figure synonymous with success in the music industry. As the founder of Arista Records and later J Records, Davis played a pivotal role in shaping the careers of countless artists. But his methods and influence have also been the subject of controversy.
They're never going to do anything. They're going to put you on the shelf because Clive Davis paid them to sign you, so you be stuck.
Davis was known for his hands-on approach and his ability to spot talent. However, his management style was often criticized for being overly controlling. Artists under his guidance were expected to conform to his vision, sometimes at the expense of their own creativity and well-being. Luther Vandross's experience with J Records highlighted some of these issues. While Davis helped propel Luther to new heights of success, the demands and expectations placed on him were immense. Luther's health problems and personal struggles were exacerbated by the pressures of the industry. But could Clive Davis have exploited Luther, asking for favors that crossed professional boundaries? Patti Labelle's revelations opened the door to the possibility that Luther's life was not only controlled by his fear of rejection, but also by the industry's hidden demands.
Happy.
It depends. It also depends on when you ask. Asking right now? No, not particularly.
But let's back up a bit. Patti and Luther go way back, like Apollo Theater dressing room days. Patti reminisced about Luther surprising her crew with fancy dresses. Luther had style, no doubt. Patti met Vandross when she was still part of the Bluebells. Their first encounter was over 50 years ago at the backstage of the Apollo Theater. She recalled a fond memory of Luther sneaking into their dressing room, acting the part of a designer, presenting them with lavish dresses that, even today, she's not even sure where he got them. Sadly, Luther passed away in 2005 at just 54 years old. He never confirmed his leaving fans and industry folks to speculate. Some folks weren't too happy with Patti for talking about Luther's personal life after he was gone. In the wake of Patti's revelations, some fans criticized her for outing Luther posthumously. Despite the criticism, Patti's words shed light on the struggles Luther faced in reconciling his private life with his public persona. Ironically, Luther, known for his romantic love songs, never got the chance to live his own love story. According to a 2001 interview he did with Vibe magazine, where he revealed, "I'm still waiting. The time that I've spent being in love has never been reciprocated. Those are just the circumstances. I want to play house," he added. "I want somebody who's not on payroll to care about where I am." That said, Luther Vandross will forever remain one of the most talented vocalists of our time. Patti Labelle described it perfectly, saying, "There are voices in this world, and once they sing, it's a stamp on everybody." Luther did that, and he's done it. By the time the superstar singer died in 2005, he'd sold more than 35 million records, won 8 Grammy Awards, and performed alongside the likes of David Bowie, Ringo Starr, Beyoncé, and Mariah Carey. He left behind 14 studio albums, all of which went either platinum or multi-platinum, and a collection of timeless hits, including Never Too Much, Here and Now, and Power of Love.
Miss Patti Labelle. She's talking about Luther Vandross.
Patti's bombshell on Luther didn't sit well with millions of people, Wendy Williams included. The talk show host believes the soul singer should have remained mum on the subject since Luther chose not to share that information with the world. She also believes, as his best friend, that speaking on the matter was especially inappropriate. She should have said, "No comment." If he had asked me something like that, then it's okay for me to talk about it. I didn't know Luther Vandross. He wasn't my friend, but it's not okay to talk about it when it's your best friend. You know? It's like a violation, Wendy blasted Labelle. In any case, Luther Vandross Jr. came into the world on April 20th, 1951, right in the heart of Manhattan, New York City. Born at Bellevue Hospital in the Kips Bay neighborhood, his arrival coincided with the Grand Ticker Tape Parade honoring General Douglas MacArthur. Luther was the second son and fourth child of Mary Ida Vandross and Luther Vandross Sr. His dad was not only a talented singer but also made a living as an upholsterer, while his mom worked as a nurse. Growing up, Luther called the Alfred E. Smith houses in Manhattan's Lower East Side home, where he spent his early years surrounded by the bustling city life. At just 3 years old, Luther's love for music started to blossom. With his very own phonograph, he taught himself to play the piano by ear, a remarkable skill for such a young age. However, tragedy struck Luther's family when his father passed away from diabetes when Luther was only 8 years old. In 2003, Luther penned the heartfelt song "Dance with My Father" as a tribute to his dad, drawing from fond memories of their family's joyful moments of singing and dancing together. Following his father's death, Luther's family moved to the Bronx when he was 9. It was here that Luther's passion for music truly took flight, thanks in part to his sisters Patricia, Pat, and Ann, who introduced him to the vibrant music scene of the time. They regularly took Luther to iconic venues like the Apollo Theater and theaters in Brooklyn to witness performances by music legends Dionne Warwick and Aretha Franklin. Patricia herself was involved in the music industry, singing with the vocal group The Crests and being featured on several hit songs. After graduating from William Howard Taft High School in the Bronx in 1969, Luther briefly attended Western Michigan University before dropping out to pursue a career in music. During his high school years, Luther founded the first ever Patti Labelle fan club, showcasing his early admiration for musical talent. He also performed with the group Shades of Jade, making appearances at the Apollo Theater and participating in the theater workshop Listen My Brother. Throughout the 1970s, Luther's career gained momentum as he lent his vocals to various artists, including Roberta Flack, Donny Hathaway, and Chaka Khan. He also dabbled in songwriting, contributing to hits like Everybody Rejoice, A Brand New Day for the Broadway musical The Wiz.
Everybody look around, 'cause there's a reason to rejoice.
Despite these successes, Luther faced challenges in achieving commercial success with his group Luther, which he was part of in the late 1970s. Undeterred, Luther continued to make strides in the music industry, writing and singing commercial jingles for major companies and collaborating with renowned artists like Greg Diamond's Bionic Boogie. By the late 1970s, Luther's talent as a session singer was in high demand, and he lent his vocals to numerous projects, including Quincy Jones's album Sounds and Stuff Like That, and the group Charm's album Let It In. The 1970s laid the groundwork for Luther's solo career, setting the stage for the monumental success he would achieve in the decades to come. Vandross hit his big break when he joined forces with the acclaimed pop dance group Change, masterminded by French-Italian entrepreneur Jacques-Fred Petrus. Their smash hits in 1980, The Glow of Love and Searching, showcased Vandross's powerhouse vocals as the lead singer. Reflecting on The Glow of Love in a 2001 interview with Vibe magazine, Vandross described it as the most beautiful song I've ever sung in my life. Both tracks featured on Change's debut album, The Glow of Love. In 1981, Luther Vandross was offered a chance to feature on Change's successful follow-up album, Miracles, but turned it down due to disagreements over money with Petrus, the producer. Instead, he signed with Epic Records and launched his solo career with his debut album, Never Too Much. Despite not appearing on Miracles, Vandross still contributed background vocals to the album and helped with another of Petrus's projects, the BB&Q Band. Never Too Much became a huge success, especially the title track, which Vandross wrote himself. It topped the R&B charts and marked the beginning of a strong partnership with bassist Marcus Miller and arranger Nat Adderley Jr., both of whom would play major roles in his music career. Throughout the 1980s, Vandross released several successful R&B albums, cementing his place as an R&B icon. While his albums made big waves on the charts, they didn't always perform as well on the pop charts. However, he had two notable hits during the decade: Stop to Love in 1986 and There's Nothing Better Than Love, a duet with Gregory Hines. Beyond his own music, Vandross also made an impact behind the scenes. He produced 2 albums for Aretha Franklin in the early 80s and worked with Dionne Warwick on her album, How Many Times Can We Say Goodbye? He also wrote and produced songs for other artists like Diana Ross. In 1985, Vandross discovered Jimmy Salvamini on Star Search and helped him secure a record deal, producing his album Roll It in 1986. Around the same time, Vandross lent his voice to Stevie Wonder's hit Part-Time Lover and made vocal contributions to other projects, like the animated series Zack of All Trades. As the 80s ended, Vandross's compilation album, The Best of Luther Vandross. The Best of Love featured his first top 10 pop hit, Here and Now. In 1990, he contributed to Whitney Houston's album and made a guest appearance on the TV show 227. He continued to release successful albums in the 90s, winning multiple Grammy Awards, including for his hit Power of Love.
When I say goodbye, it is never for long.
In 1994, Vandross teamed up with Mariah Carey for a duet of Endless Love. And in 1997, he won another Grammy for Your Secret Love. After his time with Epic Records, he moved to Clive Davis's J Records, releasing more hits like Take You Out. In 2003, Vandross released Dance with My Father, which debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 and solidified his legacy in music history. The title track, dedicated to Vandross's cherished memories of dancing with his father, earned him and co-writer Richard Marx the Grammy Award for Song of the Year in 2004, along with Vandross's 4th and final award for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance. The album's second single, Think About You, topped the urban adult contemporary charts in 2004. Additionally, Vandross lent his vocals to the revamped version of One Shining Moment, the anthem for the televised NCAA Men's Basketball Championship, giving it a fresh interpretation that remains in use today. Despite achieving significant success, Vandross never entered into marriage, nor did he have any children. Tragically, all 4 of his siblings, along with his father, predeceased him due to health issues such as diabetes and asthma. In a revealing 2006 interview with Bruce Valanche, a close friend and colleague of Vandross, he disclosed, "No one knows I'm in the life." Valanche shared that Vandross had very few romantic encounters and had experienced his longest relationship with a man while residing in Los Angeles during the late 1980s and early 1990s. It wasn't until December 2017, 12 years after Vandross's passing, that his friend Patti Labelle publicly confirmed his. Labelle acknowledged that Vandross had chosen not to openly come out as gay during his music career, recognizing that doing so could have jeopardized his standing in an industry where the majority of his fan base consisted of women seeking emotional connection through his music. She explained that Vandross had a large following of female fans and simply didn't want to disrupt that dynamic. In December 1985, Vandross was faced with a distressing situation when a British magazine falsely attributed his significant weight loss to AIDS. At the time, he weighed 325 pounds but had embarked on a diet earlier that year, resulting in an 85-pound weight loss. In a harrowing incident in 1986, Vandross was involved in a car accident that claimed the life of his friend Larry Salvamini. The accident occurred as they were celebrating the completion of Jimmy Salvamini's debut album. Vandross was driving his 1985 Mercedes-Benz convertible when it collided with other vehicles on Laurel Canyon Boulevard in Los Angeles. Vandross sustained injuries including broken ribs, a broken hip, and facial cuts, while Jimmy Salvamini suffered cuts and bruises. Vandross faced legal repercussions, including vehicular manslaughter charges and a suspended driver's license. Although initially supported by the Salvamini family, they later filed a wrongful death lawsuit against him, which was eventually settled out of court. In later years, Vandross battled diabetes and hypertension, culminating in a severe stroke at his New York City home on April 16, 2003. This stroke left him in a coma for nearly 2 months and significantly impacted his ability to speak and sing, leading to his reliance on a wheelchair. Despite some progress, including regaining the ability to walk, Vandross's health continued to deteriorate. His last public appearance was on The Oprah Winfrey Show on May 6, 2004, where he appeared appeared via a pre-taped video segment to accept an award. Vandross passed away on July 1, 2005, at the age of 54 due to complications from the stroke. His funeral was attended by luminaries of the music industry, including Aretha Franklin, Patti LaBelle, and Stevie Wonder, and he was laid to rest at the George Washington Memorial Park in Paramus, New Jersey. Although Luther's legacy will remain unforgotten, he lived a truly lonely life. So lonely that many people often wonder if it would have been better for him had he not been famous. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.